You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully. Hello, it is Saturday, the 6th of July 2024. You're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And I thought I'd talk a little bit today about how I use AI within my writing. And the honest answer is I don't use it very much. Because I worry that it would take individuality away from my writing. And I think it's also possible to take too much feedback, whether it's from an AI or whether it's from other people. Because again, if you try and, it's quite possible when you... one of the reasons I've never joined a writing... what's it called? There are writing collectives that give you feedback, and I can't remember the name of one, but there is a quite famous one. But I won't join it because you can literally get one piece of feedback that says one thing and one piece of feedback that says the other, because it is all about the point of view of the person giving you the writing and giving you the feedback. And I think you could spend a lot of time trying to please everybody and possibly take away the distinctive voice that you have. So I don't do any of that, but I do sometimes, when I complete each chapter, I use a piece of, I think it's AI-based software called Grammarly. And in theory, we're looking at the latest piece of work. It had over 200 suggestions for me. Many of them are ones that I have to pay for. But one of the things that I do allow it to do for me is my punctuation is absolutely terrible. It is just an absolute waste of time, to be honest with you. So if you put my chapter through Grammarly, one of the things that you very often will see is it will mainly say remove comma, remove comma, remove comma. Very occasionally it'll tell me to add a comma. It'll also tell me to add hyphens. It's good at picking up silly little things like when I've got two spaces between a word when I should have one, or missing quote marks or stuff like that, although I very rarely do that. But it's just really useful because it just tidies up my chapter. So what I do, as I say, my writing process at the moment is about to become write a chapter, which means I just type it out and let it fall like just randomly from my head. I don't worry about style or content or word repetition or anything like that. But what I used to do was complete the whole work before going on to editing. And I'm about to stop doing that. So what I do now, or what I'll start doing from when I start writing new material later this month, is I will write a chapter, edit a chapter, and that means going through it visually for things that I don't like or want to change because I probably wrote it in a hurry. But then I run it through Grammarly, and it literally is about it's not literally about dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but it is literally about correcting little mistakes that I make. Now, it also offers me additional suggestions that I don't necessarily think will improve my work. As I said before, it'll probably take some of the individuality out of my writing, and I don't go with all the suggestions Grammarly makes, especially if it's someone talking, because my characters all have unique voices in my head, and a lot of the time the way they speak is the way I want them to speak, and even if it's not grammatically perfect, well, I'm sure not everybody speaks grammatically perfectly. I know I don't, and I'm sure Sheldon Cooper would pick up every other sentence that I utter for some kind of grammatical inaccuracy, but, each character has a voice, and I very rarely change that. Where I do change stuff, very occasionally, if something's a little bit over-worded, I will. I quite often put someone did something, then did this. And of course it should be, and then did this. So I regularly get picked up on that. But I don't want to change how my voice sounds. So I have looked at the possibility of upgrading. But the other thing I don't like about most software these days, and Grammarly is included in this, is you have to pay a monthly or annual subscription. Now, I remember the good old days when you had to buy things on discs. And so the pattern then was that you'd buy the software and you owned it. And you can still do that now. So, for example, I've got a lifetime license for the current version of Word or Microsoft Office, basically, that I'm currently using, because I really don't like the idea of having to pay monthly or annually for it. I mean, well, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I would rather pay it once off and own the software. Now, sometimes there are even games and stuff now, on your tablet or your handheld device. Even games, you have to pay monthly subscriptions to, which is quite annoying. I do a couple. Well, it's not only games; it's software in general. So, for example, I've said elsewhere I'm a flight attendant in my real life. And one very useful bit of software is, I can't remember what it's called now, just find it on my phone. It's called Flight Radar 24, because sometimes it's easier. If I'm, say, on a short haul flight, it's easy. And when we do our briefing, I know the registration of the aircraft and all aircraft type and that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's easier just to go on Flight Radar to find where that aircraft is than to go onto my own company information. So, I can look at it and see, GEUYZ is currently in the air. It's 20 minutes from landing, or it's taxiing towards us, or if I'm having a really bad day, it hasn't even left its previous destination yet. Now that's $3.99 a month, and that's so useful, I don't mind it. But if they were to say, well, it's $3.99 a month, or we'll charge £100 to have it forever, I'd pay the £100 because I'm going to use that for years. So yes, that kind of thing does annoy me. But there we go. So yes, I will not use AI to change the way I write. I will merely use it to correct grammar and bits and pieces like that. So thank you very much for listening. I have now edited 31 out of the 32 pre-written chapters of Empress of the Trees. So yeah, I will be writing some new material very soon, and as I've talked about before, properly moving on to my new writing model. So I did say might be quite nice to do Camp NaNoWriMo and maybe finish the first draft of this book this month. I think that's unlikely to happen, but I probably will set myself some targets in NaNoWriMo and see if I can get at least, say, 30,000 words done. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll be back at a similar time tomorrow. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.